Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Joseph Hammer. I'm currently an assistant professor of counseling psychology in the College of Education at the University of Kentucky. And I wanted to record this brief video today because J. Mace III, who is a black trans queer poet based in Seattle, came out to visit University of Kentucky and talk about his experience doing social justice work in the LGBTQA organizations across the country and his general experiences given his intersections. And one of the things that he shared that really resonated with me was this idea of how to be an ally, or to be more than an ally and be a stakeholder in social justice means to give up things that are important. And this can take many different forms, but one of the, I think, crucial first steps, at least in thinking about my own journey around how I operate in this sphere and try and facilitate equality in my local community, is this idea of giving up comfort. I've noticed in myself that a lot of times where I find myself by default wanting to draw the line at what do I feel willing to take on or do if someone is doing or saying something racist in the room where I'm at and I have a chance to speak up, say something, act. If I notice there are housing disparities in my local community and I have a chance to use my voice and the social power that I have to bring attention to this inequality and to help right it or convince people of its importance, that there is this aspect of comfort that's present, where once I start getting into territory where I know that I'll come into some interpersonal conflict with those around me. So for example, when talking about race, ethnicity, and talking with white people about the importance of culture and the importance of acknowledging racial disparities that exist in our local community, and why inclusiveness and real inclusiveness in organizations is important, feeling that pushback from fellow white people who don't share those same values that I do, or don't believe that's where our focus and time and energy should be. You know, there's that resistance, and to talk about, have conversations with people around the idea that maybe for me as a white guy, I have certain privileges that, say, a black woman wouldn't have because of her identities and what they mean in our country. That having those sorts of discussions with people brings up discomfort, and it brings up this urge in them to say, like, no, I don't agree, I want to kind of shut this conversation down, I don't know why this is important to you, why are you on a mission about this stuff? And so that interpersonal conflict is something where I notice that there's a discomfort that comes with that. It's hard to have difficult dialogues. It's hard to call somebody out for saying something racist. It's hard to bring attention to disparities that nobody really wants to talk about or acknowledge. People a lot of times are uncomfortable with that. They don't want to be held accountable or taken to task for that. And they will implicitly or explicitly punish you for bringing that up. And it can challenge friendships if you feel strongly enough about you're talking with somebody about current events, and we're talking about immigration reform and what are the rights of undocumented immigrants in this country. And you're talking with somebody you know and they have a much different stance. So maybe if I have a more progressive stance and they have a more conservative stance, it may very well challenge our relationship or our friendship. They may feel uncomfortable engaging in this dialogue and may not want to spend time with me because maybe it's uncomfortable for them to talk about these things and they disagree with the emphasis I place on it. And so it brings up this idea of potential loss, in that in order to move the needle and help facilitate social justice, it's very important for me to be able to sit with the fear of that loss, to be able to endure potential loss. Like maybe some people won't want to spend time with me anymore. Maybe I'll have falling out with certain people, or I'll have to experience some conflict and tension with family members. or friends who might view this a little differently than I do. And so it becomes a question of, am I willing to sit with that loss and sit with that potential discomfort that is part and parcel of having these difficult dialogues and talking with people who I have some rapport with and seeing if I can't maybe shift their perspective on something towards a more progressive stance. So it can be hard. It can be really hard to give up that comfort. I like feeling comfortable. I think we all do. You know, we like the people we have friendships and relationships with. We're worried about losing those relationships, and to bring up these difficult things and worry about, oh, are they not going to like me anymore? Are they not going to spend time with me? Are they going to shun me or turn other people against me? Like, sometimes that's a real possibility or a real outcome. And so it really puts in perspective, like, I have to be willing to possibly give some things up if I'm truly going to promote social justice in my little corner of the world. And that can be surprisingly difficult to give up. And so that's a journey and a process in myself that I've noticed myself very slowly creeping along in, where I'm constantly trying to get better at allowing myself to feel uncomfortable and to lose some things that are important to me because it serves the larger mission. Because until myself and other white people and folks with more power are willing to experience this discomfort, it's tough for these embedded societal structures, and it's tough for our implicit prejudices and attitudes to start to be eliminated until we're willing to do that work. And the thing is, people are really suffering. People are suffering and dying and sick when we don't choose to care. So when it comes to my interpersonal comfort versus somebody's right to live or not to be killed or beaten by police, or to have equal access to schools, or to not be channeled into prisons when they do some misdemeanor thing that police would let me off the hook for because it's just boys being boys, but they'll say, oh, that's reflective of his character, the character of his race, and we need to lock him up to keep people safe. So there are real consequences to my silence and my own willingness to experience some discomfort and maybe have some falling out in relationships. So it was just something that, with what Jane Mace III shared, that I had really been sitting with and thinking about, how much discomfort have I been willing to endure, how much loss have I been willing to take on, and what does that mean for the potential power of the things I'm doing in my local community to help facilitate social justice. So I just wanted to share some of these musings I've been having, and hope this was interesting and potentially thought-provoking, and be interested to hear from you back channel about your own sense of your discomfort. So if you're someone who wishes to be an ally or a stakeholder in facilitating social justice, thinking about, like, where have you experienced discomfort associated with doing this work, and how have you managed that or not managed that, and what's that like? So some things to think about. So thanks for listening again. My name is Dr. Joseph Hammer, and I'll see you next time.